down without breaking your head. The Afternoon Business Review gives you clear analysis, fresh updates, and smart insights without the stress. My name is Nano Yankra, and I bring you everything you need to know in the world of business Mondays to Thursdays at 12:30. Let's have lunch together. The Afternoon Business Review, where Ghana's Business Day gets explained.
Increased utility tariffs in Ghana mean higher monthly bills for households and businesses, driven by the need to keep service providers financially viable amid inflation, the depreciation of the Ghana cedi against the US dollar, and rising costs for natural gas and equipment. Households will face increased monthly expenditures on basic amenities, reducing disposable income for other household needs. Industries, manufacturers, and small to medium enterprises, also known as SMEs, face higher operational and production costs. Businesses often pass these overheads on to consumers, contributing to higher prices for goods and services. The need for tariff hikes is often triggered by the weakening of the cedi against the US dollar. Because essential utility inputs such as natural gas and heavy machinery are priced in foreign currencies, fluctuations hit utility companies hard, leading to these mandated rate adjustments. So this is for the Did You Know segment, as the PRC, the Public Utility Regulatory Commission, is set to increase water and electricity fares effective 1st July. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Afternoon Business Review here on Class 91.3 FM, where we tell you what moves money and markets. My name is Agyemang Prempeh. Let's begin our show with the commodities markets. Let's check how much crude oil, gold, and cocoa is being pegged on the international market. And for crude oil, it is selling at $73 per barrel. Gold is being pegged at $4,126 per ounce, and cocoa is priced at $574 per ton. On the currency board or the exchange FX market, the dollar is selling at 11 cedis 20 pesos and is buying at 11 cedis 9 pesos. The pound is going for 14 cedis 84 pesos, whereas it's buying at 14 cedis 82 pesos. The euro is trading at 12 cedis 80 pesos and is buying at 12 cedis 79 pesos. Please note these rates could be slightly different at the various forex bureaus and banks. As we say always, don't go to the black market, don't buy from anyone. Caitlin Dazi of Data Bank is on standby with happenings on the stock market for us today. Listen.
The stock market started the week on Monday with price gains in 5 equities against 4 laggards. The top gainers were Casapreco, SIC and MTN Ghana, while ETI, Ecobank Ghana and Republic Bank declined. Driven by the price gains, the Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index declined to a year-to-date gain of 68.19%, while the DataBank Stock Index declined to a year-to-date return of 84.23%. Casapreco and MTN Ghana traded the most, accounting for 89.8% of the market turnover. For DataBank Research, Kathleen Dazi.
In the studios of Class 91.3 FM, I am Agyemang Prempeh. It's now time for us to move into our local and international news shaping the local and international scenes. And let's start from the Bank of Ghana, as they've signaled a firm but open regulatory posture toward digital assets, warning that Africa's emerging digital finance ecosystem must be built on trust, inclusion, and sound institutions rather than speculation. According to the First Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Zachary Mumuni, digital assets are no longer a distant possibility but a present-day financial reality touching millions of Ghanaians. Speaking at the Standard Chartered Digital Assets Summit here in Accra, Dr. Mumuni added that credible estimates suggest that Ghana's digital asset ecosystem already touches more than 3 million people and represents activity measured in billions of dollars. Now, away from that, effective 1st July 2026, Ghanaians will be paying more for water and electricity. This follows a new tariff approval by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission (PRC), which will see electricity rise by 3.49% and water by 0.85% across the board for all customers. Meanwhile, the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana says the recent hike is a disincentive to Ghanaians. General Secretary of the association, Samuel Agri, has been speaking to Class Business, and he has been explaining why.
But if you look at the tendencies that we see today, the city has depreciated by only 0.2%, yes, at the time of doing those consultation and considering the price tag. Two, if you look at the cost of crude oil in the international market today, we are less than $70, and it's going to come down to about $52 by the time we reach July 1st. So if you look at the prices that are coming down, there's no need for them to go up, because when it got to over $90, the price was still stable. So we don't see why they have to come and tell us that we need to increase because of these two things that I've mentioned, the inflation and then the depreciation and then the inflation. Inflations are below 5%. So what is their basis? So it's like anytime the supply changes, they need to go up and then make the money that they want. But they are not asking those questions, whether the ECG
So you have the General Secretary of the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, Samuel Agri. On the international front. Lesotho has emerged as the African country with the lowest outstanding debt to the International Monetary Fund, IMF, among countries with active IMF credit exposure, underscoring how low fund-related debt can provide greater policy flexibility at a time when many African economies remain under fiscal and external financing pressure. According to the IMF's financial data, Lesotho total IMF credit outstanding stood at 10.49 million in June 2026, making it the lowest among the African countries listed with outstanding obligations to the fund. It was followed by Equatorial Guinea with 22.99 million, Djibouti with 25.44 million, Comoros with 25.82 million, and Sao Tome and Principe with 30.01 million. Others on the lower exposure list include Guinea-Bissau with 56.33 million, Cape Verde with 79.52 million, Burundi with 100.10 million, Somalia with 116.30 million, and Seychelles with 131.41 million. The ranking comes at a time when the IMF engagement across Africa has become increasingly important as countries confront debt vulnerabilities, currency pressure, high import costs, climate shocks, and tighter global financing conditions. And now is a perfect time for us to dash into our big conversation. And today we are discussing Treasury Bill undersubscribed just a week after its modest oversubscription. So the government, through the Bank of Ghana, has recorded 20% undersubscription, with interest rates continuing to rise. According to auction results by the Bank of Ghana, the short-term instruments were undersubscribed by about 20%. The government received 4.20 billion Ghana cedis bids from investors. This was against a target of 5.27 billion cedis. It, however, accepted all the bids it tendered. The 91-day bill was once again the most subscribed, as 2.25 billion cedis of the bids were tendered, representing 53.6% of the total bids. Also, the 128-day bill recorded bids worth 802.87 Ghana cedis, and for the 364-day bill, it recorded 1.146 billion Ghana cedis. So there's a conversation that matters to you and I, whether you have bought government instruments or securities or not, or you are planning to. This conversation is going to actually serve as a guide for you for the next half of the year. And we are having a conversation with a financial analyst who joins us on the line, Richmond Aka. Hello, Richmond. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Prempeh. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, this is the latest from the Bank of Ghana's auction over the weekend, and we are just 2 days into the new week. 20% under subscription. From where you sit as a financial analyst, what does that mean to the economy and confidence overall?
Prempeh, I think it's important that we separate the general headline from the economic reality that we are experiencing. Yes, the Treasury bill auction recorded a shortfall of about a billion Ghana cedis, but that should not automatically mean or be interpreted as a sign of economic weakness or an investor panic in the system. The current administration successfully raised over 4 billion Ghana cedis, and then they equally accepted every valid bid that was submitted, and they continue to operate within a market that is responding to the good economic fundamentals in the fiscal space. So I believe that what we are witnessing is not just a crisis of confidence, but then it's a transition towards a more disciplined and sustainable financial environment where things like the borrowing cost, investor experience and expectations, and the monetary policy of the Bank of Ghana is finding balance. So I think the Bank of Ghana's responsibility here is not only about maximizing government borrowing, not how much we rake into the government. The key responsibility of the central bank here is to maintain stability. And as many analysts continue to sound, that they should control inflation. The more we borrow, the more stress it puts on our inflation rate. And then how we preserve confidence in the financial system and ensure that we create the conditions for long-term economic growth. So ultimately, the health of the Ghanaian economy cannot just be measured by a single treasury bill auction. The real question is whether Ghana is moving in the right direction. And then our caution is we want to understand and then caution against equating the undersubscribed auction with a lack of confidence in the economy because investors still committed over 4 billion to government securities. That should equally mean that if we have lost about a billion and we got 4 out of the targeted of 5 billion, it means that Ghanaians and then investors in the Ghanaian economy still have confidence in the economy.
Yeah, but Richmond, one will also argue that a businessman or let's say anyone who is trying to also invest and get money or profit from their securities will also argue that last week was good. Why is this week down? And we've also experienced weeks and series of undersubscription. And if you're trying to make the tally undersubscription and oversubscription, the undersubscription outweighs the number of oversubscription within the space. So one will also argue that should I be worried? What signal is this sending to people out there and also people looking to enter into the space to invest?
One week's auction should not be overinterpreted, Prempeh. The treasury bill demand can fluctuate due to cash flow cycles, maturity schedules, and then portfolio adjustments. I'm mentioning 3 things: cash flow cycles, maturity schedules, and portfolio adjustments. A shift from last week's oversubscription to an undersubscription within a week is not uncommon, and it does not necessarily mean that there's a fundamental change in investor sentiment. It basically means that the Ghanaian economy is becoming robust. There are more investment opportunities in the private sector available to the Ghanaian investor. So the Ghanaian investor, as of this week, now has access to other investment portfolios in the private sector, which we want to grow. So basically, it only means that there are now more places that the Ghanaian investor can put his or her money. But in my view, I think that the conditions are becoming bigger, and then many investors are managing cash more cautiously while they are waiting for better rates. So last week, the rate was different from this rate. The basis point and then the fiscal credibility, which is the primary concern of the investor, is better now. So I don't think that it should be something that we should overinterpret. Basically, the investors have access to more investment options compared to last week, and then most investors are looking at a comparison and then are focusing on achieving it. So I don't think we should overinterpret the oversubscription of last week to the undersubscription in this week.
Right, so the government accepted all 4.220 or 20 billion cities, but missed its target of 5.27 billion. What does that gap mean for fiscal operations in the short term?
So, there's cash management tools and then multiple financing mechanisms available to government. So the shortfall is not something that government would keenly monitor because it is not alarming in itself. Looking at the multiple financing mechanisms available to government, the key point is that we are looking for 5 billion and then they've raised about 4 billion. The short-term implication of this is a recalibration of the funding plans of government. As government has not been able to achieve the 5.1 billion, what they could keenly be looking at is either to really look at some core expenditures in the spending space to tighten how much they let go in the coming days because, these fiscal issues have to be managed very critically because as we are managing this, they're also looking at our inflation rate because a little stress here puts our inflation rate at a level that we would not want to go to. So I think that the fiscal managers are monitoring the difference. But then in itself, it's not such a huge an issue for us to be worried about because there are mechanisms in place to ensure that the difference is being catered for. If the revenue has not been raked in, then we'll really look at some of the expenditures that have to go out this week and then see how we can manage them.
Right, it's good you did mention of fiscal measures and all that. It brings me to my next question, and probably we don't have much time, so that will probably be my last question. But I want to know if and the undersubscription persists, what are the macroeconomic risk, particularly more on domestic borrowing and spending, or the pressure on the city? Which one will be affected the most?
If it becomes a persistent trend over several months, then it becomes an issue. But here it's just a 1 week issue that we are looking at. However, governments might have to adjust their borrowing strategies. As I mentioned earlier, reprioritize their expenditures or seek alternative financing sources available to them. However, we are far from that scenario because the whole conversation is just being based on a single auction of a week. The greater risk would be if there is a sustained undersubscription, and then all these are being accompanied by deteriorating economic indicators. But presently, Ghana's focus should remain on maintaining fiscal discipline, sustaining the disinflation process that has been going on for a period of time, ensuring that disinflation has come down so well and that the inflation rate has been beaten down. And then we should also look at how we can strengthen investor confidence in the auction bill because the Treasury bill is an internal or a local borrowing mechanism to the government. And then if the private investors in our economy don't see the confidence looking at the rates that are coming in, they are going to shy away from it. So as at now that we are looking at the undersubscription, it's our hope that it does not persist. But then if it persists, then the fiscal managers would have to adjust their borrowing strategies, reprioritize their expenditures, and equally seek alternative financing sources.
Very well, thanks for your time. So you heard financial analyst Richmond Akpa this afternoon on the afternoon business review. He did mention that the government should prioritize it, managing borrowing, and also make sure that investor confidence is being spread out. Investor confidence is being strengthened in the country to also help our fiscals and all that. So you had Richmond Akpa, who is a financial analyst. So that's how we wrap up today's edition of the Afternoon Business Review here on Class 91.3 FM with me and Agyemang Prempeh. As we say always, you don't need a dictionary to understand business news. For more news, log on to classfmonline.com. Catch us same time tomorrow, same dial, same station, same time. Probably different hosts. My name is Agyemang Prempeh. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us.